Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Papa West, Jacob West, back. It has been a hot minute. It's been like 4 weeks since you last saw me. Um, but I am back, and I am here for TMG Takes the Field. Yeah, it's been a minute. I've been sick. I've been busy. I've been watching the Book of Boba Fett, which I really want to do right now, but I'm like, no, I need to do my show, and then I'll watch it afterwards. So I'm putting it off for a little bit until I'm done with this. That being said, if you have not watched the Book of Boba Fett, watch it. It's pretty amazing. I have always hated Boba Fett. I found him a very overrated character. He looks cool. He looks awesome. But he gets kicked accidentally and flies right into a sarlacc where he's just nothing. He gets digested. He has to sit and wait for until he dies pretty much. I'm like, that makes sense for him. He's a pretty overrated character. It wasn't until I watched I read a comic called Dark Fate. I think it's Dark Fate, but it's a Legends comic based after episode 6. There are two like really cool things. First one is Luke Skywalker fights a clone of Emperor Palpatine, and like they get into a room and there's like 1,000 clones of Palpatine, and so Luke kills one, and then his body, his soul, goes into another one. So he's fighting Palpatine, but he's fighting clones of Palpatine. And the other cool thing is Boba Fett pops up out of nowhere. He starts fighting Han Solo and Princess Leia. That's one thing Han says is, "I thought the Sarlacc got you." And he's like, "Well, Sarlacc can't digest Beskar because Beskar has been part of the Star Wars universe since well before The Mandalorian and well before Rebels, two really good TV shows that you should watch. It has been a part of Star Wars long before those two things. But hey, if you want to know more about this, check out the Supernova Show with Colton Roberts. He talks a lot about nerd things. I know for a fact he's talked about Book of Boba Fett. I don't know what exactly he's talked about it, but I know he's talked about it. So that's something. No, check his show out if you like that nerdy stuff. I like that nerdy stuff. So you did not come here for that. You came here to listen to me talk about sports and really ramble for hours upon hours, well, 45 minutes, if that. But there will be a lot of rambling. I can guarantee it. So let's try not to ramble too much and get into breaking news. First thing I really want to talk about, with the ending of the regular season in the NFL. It always happens Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. They call it Black Monday because a lot of coaches get fired. Lately, we've seen reports come out right after the game. Some of the coaches get fired, and it does take a little bit of time. We did have one firing at the in the middle of the season. The Jacksonville Jaguars did fire Urban Meyer. Other than that, there have been 5 so far. The first one, and I want to say that one came like right after their game. Vic Fangio, head coach of the Broncos, was let go of his job. Monday morning, we had 3. Matt Nagy of the Bears, which I reported was going to happen right after Thanksgiving. Took a little bit of time, but it happened. Mike Zimmer of the Vikings, which has been hinted at for a couple of years. I have several Viking fans that are always like, "Fire Zimmer, fire Zimmer." He's always stayed around. He's been pretty good. Last year they didn't have a great year. It was like the first year in a while. Had a really bad defense, which is weird because Zimmer is a defensive coach. But this was finally the year where they decided to get rid of him. And then the big surprise, the Miami Dolphins got rid of Brian Flores. He had been there for about I believe this was his second season. And he had 2 very good years with the team. Obviously didn't win the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills have won it the last 2 seasons now, but he always had him in the running. And even this year, like, it didn't look great. They were 1-7 at one point, like 1-6, and then they had an 8-game winning streak that just ended. They lost not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before. And then they came back and won. They swept the Patriots, which is something they haven't done in, I want to say, since 2010, 2011, the year Brady was out due to taking an arrow to the knee. Literally, the Kansas City Chiefs player headbutted him right in the knee, but he ended up tearing his ACL in like the first week. Which was it's like the only time Brady was with the team that they didn't win the division, is because he didn't play like the entire season. They had to get what's his name? The guy from USC. He like never started, but ended up playing for the Patriots for a little bit, and then got flip flopped around a couple other teams. They were trying to get that. Because they had a great season. It's like they almost made the playoffs. No one was expecting it, and so a lot of people were trying to recreate that magic. He just never did as good as he did that year. I don't know if Miami swept the Patriots that year, but that would have been like the only time they would have while Brady was on the team. But yeah, Brian Flores was a pretty good coach. I'm very surprised on this one. I do not understand why he got fired. Jonathan Peck, you are in the chat. Who's that quarterback, and why can't I think of his name? He started in high school, of course, but he didn't start in college. He was with the Patriots for a couple years. He was undrafted. He might have been with a couple other teams. But Tom Brady had that really bad injury, was out for the season. He ended up taking over week 2, and they went like 10-6. They had a great year, just not good enough to win the division and ended up missing the playoffs because of it. If you could help me out, that would be great. And then the last coaching job that just was announced, and this one's an interesting one because it's for the New York Giants. And right before they fired Mike Judge, or not Mike Judge, Joe Judge, Dave Gettleman, their general manager, stepped down. So a lot of people were thinking Judge was going to stay. The Giants are fully cleaning shop. They did let go of Joe Judge. So currently there are 6 openings. There are more. I actually don't know if there will be more, but we'll definitely be hearing a lot. I imagine maybe a coach who's in the playoffs right now will retire. I don't know. Andy Reid would be like the only one I could think of. Maybe Mike Tomlin. But we'll see. We'll see if there are any other news out there as far as coaching hires. Jonathan Peck coming in the clutch. Matt Castle, pretty sure that's who it is. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name, but that's why you're here. Other breaking news, and this isn't really breaking news. This is more NFL talk. So I'll go ahead and drop the banner. And I realize I try to keep the NFL talk for Jesus. Jonathan, way to go. The Raiders, they did let go of John Gruden middle of this year, of course, with the bad comments that he said a long time ago, or 10 years ago, that finally resurfaced. Don't be a racist, kids. Just don't. Because no one will like you after that. That's exactly right. The Raiders will be making a coaching change. There are 7, but of course they weren't on my list because they are a playoff team. who knows? Maybe the Packers will get rid of their coach, depending on what Rodgers does. That'll be another interesting thing to see what happens with Rodgers end of this year, and also with Russell Westbrook. Pete Carroll might be another person who is retiring. We will see. We do have the playoffs starting up this Saturday. So our 8 divisions, the AFC North, South, East, and West, and the AFC North, South, East, and West, we finally have our 4 winners. In the AFC, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Tennessee, and Kansas City, all 4 won their division. All 4 will have at least one home game in the playoffs. And then in the NFC, we have the Cowboys, the Green Bay Vikings, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Los Angeles Rams are all the teams who clinched their division over the weekend. And then, of course, each conference does have the 3 wild cards. Our 3 wild card teams this year in the AFC: the New England Patriots, the Oakland Raiders, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unfortunately, the Colts couldn't make it, even though Matt Beer was rooting for them. I was rooting for them. Probably bet a little bit of money that they were going to win and cover. It was like a 14.5 point spread that they did not get anywhere close to doing. Colts are eliminated from the playoffs. Did I say the Green Bay Vikings? Thank you, Jonathan, for correcting me. The Green Bay Packers. I had the Vikings on the brain. And then it's the Tennessee Titans and Green Bay Packers who have home field advantage. So and a round 1 bye. So they will not be playing this weekend. Saturday night, we do have the Raiders taking on the Bengals and the Patriots taking on the Bills. Of course, I'm going to give predictions because that's how I roll. I do think the Bengals are going to win their game against the Raiders. There's some reports that Joe Burrow has a bad knee. I don't think I've really seen anything official on that. There's nothing in the injury report. There's also nothing about his offensive line, which I don't remember who. It was a person conversation I was having with somebody. I was making a comment, but of course they were Raider fans too, so maybe that's why. No, I do think Joe Burrow is going to have a great game. They will be able to put some pressure on him. Max Crosby, of course, has been amazing this year. But I do think their secondary is not great, which, when you're taking on Jamar Chase, you have to be great. Jamar Chase, obviously, I think obviously should be the rookie of the year. Yes, I realize Mac Jones did have a really good year this year, but he didn't have a great year. And I think with quarterbacks, you don't have to have a great year, but it helps to have. I don't think his year was good enough whenever Jamar Chase had such a great year. So I do think the Bengals will win. As far as the Patriots Bills, I do think I can see this one being an upset. The Bills tend to struggle when they're playing good opponents. And the Patriots have just been a weird one too. They got destroyed by Miami last week, but you look at the 2 times they played each other. Of course, the game that was in Buffalo, the first game of the series, Mac Jones had like 3 pass attempts because the wind was atrocious, but they still won because they were able to pound the ball. They ran it every single play but 3. And then the Bills couldn't do anything. And then the game that was in New England, the Bills actually showed up and played. There's nothing wind-wise or weather-wise yet, but we'll have to see come Saturday, see what that wind's like because it's in Buffalo. But I love Josh Allen. I love his receivers, his weapons. Their defense has been pretty suspect at times. They have had issues stopping the run. They've had some issues stopping the throw. and I can't stand Devin Singletary. He is not. I said it last year before the draft. The Bills need a running back, or need a better running back. So I do think that the Patriots are going to win this game and upset the Bills. Is it that much of an upset? Kind of. Going on to Sunday, we have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, I'm an Eagles fan, so you know who I'm rooting for. We have the 49ers taking on the Cowboys and the Steelers taking on the Chiefs. I'm going to go backwards on this one, mainly because I'm an Eagles fan. Steelers versus the Chiefs. This is a week 15, week 14 rematch. They just played recently. The Chiefs destroyed the Steelers. This is going to be the exact same thing. This might be Big Ben's last game. I do think he is retiring after this year. Especially after this game, he'll realize he doesn't want to keep playing because Melvin Ingram and Chris Jones are going to be all over that guy. The Melvin Ingram trade before the trade deadline, I think, was a genius move. Pretty sure I said here. I really like that pickup, especially for only a 6th-round pick. I really hope he has another. Hey, remember how you traded me for a 6th-round pick game and just destroys them? I will say the Steelers have a great defense, so it's not going to be a blowout, but I definitely think the Chiefs will win by maybe 3 possessions, which is close to blowout. But I do think that their last touchdown will be right at the end of the game, kind of those garbage time touchdowns. Just because their defense is great, but Patrick Mahomes is fan-freaking-tastic. And they're going to be able to make some stops, but not enough stops. And then, of course, the Chiefs' defense is going to be able to stop the Steelers' offense very handily. Get some turnovers in that also. As far as the 49ers Cowboys go, I can't stand the Cowboys. I actually think that the 49ers are going to win, even with putting my hate to the side. The Cowboys, Micah Parsons has been great. That defense has been really good, especially when they were trash last year. They have kind of been dropping the ball lately, and I don't think they've beaten a 10-win team at all this year. Of course, I'll have to go back and look at that. The only above 500 team I think they beat is the Eagles, who they beat twice, unfortunately. But I don't think they beat a 10-win team this year, or at least a team that finished with 10 wins. 49ers are 10-7, so that's going for them. Trayvon Diggs, of course, has been amazing getting interceptions. He's also allowed the most yards. So I saw a meme that said he is the Jameis Winston of defensive backs, because it's either a pick six or a touchdown. So they're probably going to have him lined up on Brandon Ayuk, who has actually done pretty good this season. But then you also have Deebo Samuel you have to worry about. You have 5 different running backs you have to worry about. Jimmy G, who's playing for his job. And then that defense is pretty nasty too. Of course, getting an interception to end the game against Matt Stafford. And then Monday night, a very exciting. I forgot a game. The Eagles and the Buccaneers. These 2 teams played each other just recently, and Tampa Bay won. Tampa Bay is going to win again. I really hate to say it. I think the Eagles have been amazing, especially in the last 8 weeks. They realized, hey, we're not going to win the ball in the air. We need to run the ball. They started doing that. They started winning. They had a really nice streak going. But the only thing is, the Eagles had one of the easiest seasons. They had one of the easiest strength of schedule. They haven't beat an above 500 team. They played a bunch of easy teams. One nice thing is that they're able to keep games close. Game against the Buccaneers, they kept pretty close. The Cowboy game, first half was very close, and then they started making bad choices, and it really blew up in their face. Do I think this is going to be a repeat of last year with what happened with the Buccaneers and Washington? No, where Washington just balls out of nowhere. No, I do think that the Eagles are going to have a good game, but it's still going to be like not that close. Jonathan, good news is we got 3 first-round picks. Just pray that Howie doesn't F it up. Yeah. Which he has. Looking at you, Jalen Reagor. And I love you, Jalen Reagor. I watch you in TCU. You can't mess them all up. He's done a pretty good job of it too. So we'll see. We'll see come draft time. And then go into the last game of round 1. We have the Cardinals and the Rams. Of course, NFC West teams that are just so happening to play each other. I do think the Rams will win this one, which they had that bad game against the 49ers where they were up 17-0, and then the 49ers tied it up and, of course, went into overtime. Here's the fun thing with the Rams. If Matthew Stafford plays amazing, they're unbeatable. The only issue is he doesn't always play amazing. When you get Matthew Stafford, you get 2 players. You get 1 or 2 players. You either get an amazing quarterback, a very underrated quarterback, or you get a horrible quarterback, very inaccurate quarterback. You really don't see like a kind of mid-range Matthew Stafford. He's either great or bad. I think he knows this is his chance of really doing something in the playoffs. He's been, I think, once before with the Lions. I think only once. He might have been in there twice. Definitely has never won a game in the playoffs. So he kind of has that little chip on his shoulder. So I hope he can turn it around this year and get a win, maybe even win it all. We will see. That is it as far as NFL / breaking news goes. Next, I do kind of want to talk about Major League Baseball. Guess what? There's no news about Major League Baseball. We're still in a lockout. I'm sorry. National Basketball Association. I did kind of say towards the middle of the year, we will kind of start talking about games, kind of like special games. Special game that happened, I believe it was Monday night. Mavericks took on the Warriors. I'm saying to yourself, Papa, why is that a special game? Well, because the Mavericks retired the GOAT's number. And by the GOAT, I mean Dirk Nowitzki, number 41, power forward out of somewhere weird in Germany. They retired his number, and they beat the Warriors. Good day. As far as standings go in the Eastern Conference right now, Chicago is number 1 at 27-11. Brooklyn is at 25-14. Miami 26-15. Milwaukee 26-17. Philadelphia 23-17. Cleveland 23-18. Charlotte 23-19. Toronto 20-18. Those are the top 8. So those are the playoffs. The season ends today. Just on the outside looking in, we have Washington at 22-20. Boston and the New York Knicks at 21-21. As far as the Western, I'm not going to go through everything because no one really wants to hear about how Detroit and Orlando haven't had 10 wins yet because they garbage. So we're not really going to talk about that as much. In the Western Conference, Phoenix is number 1 right now at 31-9. Golden State at 30-10. Utah 28-13, Memphis 29-14, Dallas 22-19, Denver 20-19, the Lakers 21-20, the Clippers at 21-21. Those are the top 8. just on the outside looking in, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves 20-21, the Portland Trail Blazers 16-24, San Antonio Spurs 15-25, and the Sacramento Kings 16-27. The Rockets are in last place. They're doing a little bit better, but still not great. Kyrie Irving is playing. He was he's a part-time player right now. Of course, because he still has not been vaccinated. He is not allowed to play in New York, which is his home team, which is great. But he does play in away games. Ben Simmons, no news on Ben Simmons. We did also have a very exciting thing happen. Klay Thompson, he shot a free throw with a torn ACL. Like, the dude's amazing. Shot a free throw with a torn ACL in the finals where the Warriors played the Raptors. I believe it was the last game, or was it the second to last game? Game 5 or game 6. Or actually, I don't remember. I think Golden State only won once in that one. But yeah, towards the end of that finals, he tore his ACL. He's been battling injuries. He is finally back. He has played a little bit, so that is exciting. He's finally back, so Golden State might be dominant once again. Other news as far as the NBA goes, Portland Trailblazer star Damian Lillard is planning to have surgery to address a lingering abdominal injury. He's last played December 31st. I'm trying to look I don't think there's a timetable as far as a return goes. I'm not seeing anything. But this doesn't look good for Trailblazers fans because CJ McCollum is also out indefinitely. No news on when he will be back. Trailblazers currently in 10th place, which we know anything can happen in the NBA season, but it's not looking good for them right now. But towards the end of the season, if they're still close, that would be exciting, maybe exciting to watch. Last thing we are going to talk about, NCAA football. We just had bowl season end Monday night. We kind of did a breakdown on all the bowl games, so I'll go ahead and say how every bowl game finished. In the Bahamas Bowl, Middle Tennessee State University beat Toledo 31-24. In the Tail Greeter Cure Bowl, Coastal Carolina beat Northern Illinois 47-41. The RoofClaim.com Boca Raton Bowl, Western Kentucky beat Appalachian State 59-38. The PUBG Mobile New Mexico Bowl, because yes, an app is sponsoring a bowl game. Fresno State beat University of Texas in El Paso. The Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl, University of Alabama, Birmingham. The Blazes beat Brigham Young University 31-28. The Lending Tree Bowl, Liberty beat Eastern Michigan 56-20. The Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl, presented by Stifel. That's a mouthful. Utah State beat Oregon State. The RNL Carriers New Orleans Bowl, Louisiana beat Marshall. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, presented by Tax Act. Tulsa beat Old Dominion 30-17. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Wyoming beat Kent State 52-38. The Tropical Smoothie Cafe Frisco Bowl, San Diego State. That's right, I'm going to pronounce your name right because it's spelled out in front of me. Beat University of Texas in San Antonio 38-24. The Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, Army beat Missouri 24-22. The Frisco Football Classics presented by Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Miami of Ohio beat North Texas 27-14. The Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, University of Central Florida beat Florida 29-17. An amazing fight broke out at the end of that game. The Tax Act Camellia Bowl, Georgia State beat Ball State 51-20. The Quick Lane Bowl, Western Michigan beat Nevada. The Military Bowl, presented by Preston, was canceled. Never mind. I completely missed my shirt. I'm sorry, guys. Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl. Houston beat Auburn 17-13. The Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. Air Force beat Louisville 31-28. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Texas Tech beat Mississippi State 34-7. I like this because Mike Leach used to coach for Texas Tech, got fired because he locked a kid in a shed who had a concussion. Other than that one thing, I really enjoyed Mike Leach as a coach. And then he did that one thing. Like, what do you do with that? You can't do that. Well, he's coaching at Mississippi State now, so it was kind of a comeback. Interestingly enough, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Minnesota beat West Virginia 18-6. The New Era Pinstripe Bowl, Maryland beat Virginia Tech 54-10. The Cheez-It Bowl, Clemson beat Iowa State 20-13. The Valero Alamo Bowl, Oklahoma beat Oregon 47-32. The Duke's Mayo Bowl, South Carolina beat North Carolina 38-21. The Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl, Purdue beat Tennessee 48-45. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Michigan State beat Pittsburgh 31-21. The SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, Wisconsin beat Arizona State 20-13. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, Wake Forest beat Rutgers 38-10. The Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, because Tony the Tiger has a bowl game. Central Michigan beat Washington State 24-21. The Outback Bowl, Arkansas beat Penn State 24-10. The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, Oklahoma State beat Notre Dame 37-35. The Verbo Citrus Bowl, Kentucky beat Iowa 20-17. The Rose Bowl game presented by Capital One Venture X. Of course, the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Ohio State beat Utah 48-45. In the All-State Sugar Bowl, Baylor beat Ole Miss 21-7. The TaxAct Texas Bowl, Kansas State beat LSU 42-20. And then we have the college football playoffs, which some of you are thinking, wow, you skipped those because you went right into the New Year's Six Bowls. No, I saved them for the end on purpose. We had Cincinnati taking on Alabama. Alabama won 27-6. Georgia taking on Michigan. Georgia won 34-11. Which meant that in our national championship game, we would have two teams from the SEC duke it out in a rematch of the SEC championship game, where Alabama proved they're Alabama, and you can't deny them a championship. SEC or national, they're going to get one a year at least. Most of the time, they're going to get two. So they already had one. Let's get into the national championship game. Are they going to get two? Is Georgia going to upset them and be like, hey, you can keep your SEC championship. We're going to get the national championship. That's so much better than your SEC championship game. We have Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner, versus Stetson Bennett the fourth, a walk-on who used to play JUCO ball and then was like fourth in line in Georgia. But he's like, no, I'm going to stay at Georgia because I'm a dog fan. I'm going to stay, and we're going to win the national championship one year. I guarantee you. I don't know why I got really southern there for a second, but it happens. I've hyped this game up plenty enough. Very exciting game before it even started. Of course, it was a rematch of the SEC championship game where Alabama proved victorious, being able to actually do something against Georgia's defense that no team had done all year. Their closest game, which was a 7-point game, was 10-3. Georgia came out on top and beat Alabama 33-18. Just a couple things from some of the game. I'm not gonna recap every single game. Just kind of my my big takeaways. Yeah, Georgia, Alabama, that game was fantastic. I didn't watch all of it. I missed like the first 3 minutes, but I was really glad that I started watching from the when I did. Um, Very great game. Both teams did a great job. Um, of course, whenever you lose, the media is gonna paint you as a sore loser. Sometimes you are a sore loser. Cam Newton, after losing Super Bowl 50, you're a sore loser. There were plenty of times where Tom Brady lost the Super. 3 times he lost the Super Bowl, but they'd go to him like sitting on the ground or punching the ground or something like that. They definitely look at the losing moment. But I will say, Alabama had a great game. I believe if they had played anybody else, that the way they played that game, they'd have easily won. You can say, well, we had to deal with injuries. Our star wide receiver was injured. We had cornerbacks out. You got to play the game. You might say crappy calls. You got to play the game. And they weren't crappy calls. Your defensive backs just need to learn that you tackle the receiver after he catches the ball. I'd be having this conversation if the exact opposite thing happened too. Just so you know. I've been rooting for Georgia this whole year, so just kind of glad to watch them win. This is also the first time a assistant coach under Nick Saban, while he was at Alabama, played Nick Saban in a head-to-head game and won. Which is funny because Kirby Smart has definitely had his chances, and it's never come up. It came up. It finally was his chance. Kevin with the Hey Papa West, I love you. Yeah, you're just gonna get all the Georgia love, which is funny because you're not a Georgia fan, you're a Florida State fan. Guess what? The Seminoles suck. At least they have past couple years. Other takeaways. One thing I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Michigan State game. Kenny Pickett did not play. He was a Heisman runner-up. Played for Pittsburgh. A lot of people are comparing him to Dan Marino. And we've seen a lot in the last couple of years. Seniors or even juniors who are going into the draft who already know they're going to be a top pick sit out their bowl games so they don't get injured, which is something Kenny Pickett did, which is something Matt Corral did not do. We have the Baylor Ole Miss game. I forgot what school he went to for a second, where Baylor won 21-7. Biggest takeaway from that game, Matt Corral was like the second or third drive, did end up getting a knee injury, which took him out of the game. I don't know if it was because of how severe the injury was, or if it was just because it's not a great injury, so we're just going to go ahead and take you out just so you don't have any adverse effects for whenever you go into the draft. So we'll see if that does affect his draft stock. I don't think anything's come out to exactly what happened to his knee, exactly like what kind of injury it was. I imagine we'll hear something soon about it. See if if it was a really bad injury. Hopefully this does not affect his draft stock. It shouldn't. Unless it's like, hey, you've had arthritis for 10 years and it's finally coming to hurt you, and you actually don't have a kneecap or something like really bad, it will, of course, but hopefully, if it's just like a sprain or even like if he tears his ACL. I don't think that was what happened, but hopefully NFL coaches are like, you know what? Be out for a year, but he's still a great quarterback. I have seen a couple of like the way too early mock drafts. A lot have actually taken him out of the first round. Of course, within the next couple months, we will know a lot more about Matt Corral and how bad that injury is. Another one that I want to talk about is Utah-Ohio State. This was a very fun game. Utah actually came out on top very quickly. The end of the first quarter, they were up 14-0. And then Ohio State was able to come back. There was like a 2-minute span where there were 5 touchdowns scored in the second quarter. Yeah. So Ohio State at 9:07 scored a touchdown. 8:30 or Utah scored at 9:07. Ohio State at 8:32. Utah at 8:17. Ohio State at 8:02, and then Utah at 6:24. So it was like back and forth, constantly. One team scores, the next team scores, which was very fun to watch. It could have kept, which ended pretty amazing too. Biggest thing, Cameron Rising, quarterback for Utah. He's a sophomore, thankfully. He ended up getting a concussion or a similar head injury kind of towards the end of the game. And so they had to start freshman Bryson Barnes, who never played up until then. And he still played amazing. He had a touchdown right towards the end of the game. Like a minute 54 to end up tying the game. He had a 15-yard touchdown pass. And then, of course, Ohio State, with 9 seconds left, were able to kick a go-ahead field goal to end up winning it. So we did have some very fun games this year. Of course, the Oklahoma State Notre Dame game was another really fun one to watch. Kentucky Iowa was pretty fun, which is the whole point of the bowl season, is to take these teams that will not play each other unless they both somehow make it to the playoffs and national championship. So let's have one more game and put them together. Which gets me to my next spot. Oklahoma State should have been in the playoffs. They probably would have been had they have beaten Baylor in the Big 12 championship. Is it time we expand the college football playoffs? I'm not saying Oklahoma State should have been in the playoffs after that loss. Had they have won, they probably should have. Notre Dame was another team that a lot of people were really wanting in the playoffs. There's always been talks of expanding it to 8, which then bumps it up to 16. My closing thoughts for you, ladies and gentlemen. We need a 64-team college football playoffs. They do it in college basketball. We need to do it in college football. It is the only way to have every single team that deserves a shot have a shot. You're going to expand it to 8. Sweet. That number 9 team, which this year was Oklahoma State, we should have made it. We should have been there. And then you're also going to have Cincinnati not playing Alabama. They're going to have a team that they might actually have a chance. They'd have actually had this. It would have been an 18 playoff. I believe they would have had Notre Dame, which would have been a repeat because they played each other earlier, but still a fun game to watch. I'm an advocate of it. I realize it will never happen, but it should. It'd be great to see it happen. And then, of course, you'll have Alabama take on North Dakota State, which is a team that does not lose normally. You'd watch them just get killed. It'd kind of be hilarious to watch, but it does. It hasn't happened yet. Until it happens, I'll be advocating for it. I hope you advocate for it too. But for anyways, thank you so much for watching and sticking with me through however far you stuck with me. Please, if you like this, click that little thumbs up button. It means a lot to me. I am a people pleaser, so hearing that something I say is funny or you enjoyed the show that I did, I'm going to appreciate it. It's going to make me feel better. And if I feel better, I do better stuff. So if if you didn't like the show and you think it could be improved upon, give me that thumbs up because you're going to reverse psychology me into making a better show. Please subscribe to TMG Entertainment if you have not already. We do great stuff. Granted, it's been a while since we've done a TMG Takes the Field, but what hasn't been a while, we've seen Movie Battlegrounds, our movie debate league. We have those two tournaments that I should have gone a lot farther in, but we'll talk about that later. Going on, those have been a ton of fun to watch. Colton Roberts does his show, the Supernova show, where he's probably going to talk about Boba Fett. He might even be like, "Did y'all guys hear what Papa West said about Boba Fett?" Colton, if you watch this, please invite me on an episode where I can just talk about Boba Fett. Like, not even the show, just Boba Fett in general. And I can explain my hatred for him, which is turning into love. I'm turning. He's a good guy. He's not really. He's a bad guy, but he's doing better. Also follow our sister channel, TMG Trivia. Kevin Poss, who is in the comments, is doing his TM Geek tournament. So I must say, I am so proud of you, Kevin, for actually doing a good job of being regular at that. Of course, the finals are coming up pretty soon. I know who's in the finals. I don't think the semifinals have been posted yet, so I won't tell you who's in the finals. I won't tell you who's in the semifinals because I'm going to mess up and like, well, I know this person's in the semifinals. Who did they play again? I know this person's in the semifinals. Who did they play again? So we're not gonna do that because that would be bad. We do also have TMG singles and teams. I run that stuff. Teams, we've kind of been on hiatus. Singles, we've kind of been on a little hiatus too. I've been really sick lately, which is kind of why I haven't been doing taking the field. I haven't been able to write questions for trivia because of it either. And so I haven't been able to schedule matches. But we will be getting that back up here in the next couple weeks. And then hopefully we'll be able to get that regular, which is funny because my computer is not working at the moment. I just noticed I was having these issues. So I might have to do it old school style. Oh, hey, it just turned on where I have the wheel right here and I click on it and we see how it goes. I've done that before. That's always fun to do. But it just turned on, so we should be good. That's sort of fun for Papa to have an actually good computer. If you start that, I'd be happy. But yeah, our singles tournament will be coming back here pretty soon. I know I have a match with Richie Goodacre, Ryan Parmesan, Jake Tato. That's going to be a really fun one. And Matty G and Calvin Shepard. I'm not looking forward to that at all. If you watch it, you'll know why. It's all Matty G's fault. And then, of course, I have many more after that I'm not looking at my notebook right now, so I can't tell you all in that. But we will have those back up and running very soon. Because we have to get a person to take on Ryan. Like, he's still just sitting there without someone taking him on. I still have a team champion who hasn't played anyone in almost a year. No, I already have that number one contender figured out, though. So Brandon Dunlap, Dave Lees, y'all will have a team taking you on pretty soon. And then, of course, we do also have Inside the Horseshoe, where we talk a lot more about the NFL instead of maybe the 15 minutes I talked about him today, where my friend Matt Beer talks a lot about there. So definitely check him out. I'm on there occasionally. I haven't been on as much as I used to, but I'll still pop on every now and again to give him crap because Carson Wentz took a playoff team. I believe they won, or I don't. Yeah, they won the. Or no, they didn't. They didn't win the AFC South last year. But they made it to the playoffs. He took a playoff team. They didn't win the playoffs. Whereas Jalen Hurts took like a 4-12 team or 4-11-1 team, and made him a playoff team. So who's the better quarterback? I'd still probably take Carson Wentz. But for everyone with TMG Trivia and TMG Entertainment, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Make smart choices. Stay safe. Wash your hands. We're done. I don't care. I'm not your dad, but I could be your papa. Thank you.